These 25 performance cheat codes took me from struggling with 2 hours of distracted work to doing over 6 hours of deep focused flow every single day, and I've helped my clients focus in a flow state for up to 7 hours, operate at entirely new levels and be more productive than ever before. So it doesn't matter if you can't focus for 30 minutes or if you can focus for 4 hours straight. In this video, I'm going to show you what these cheat codes are, how you can use them to take your focus to entirely new heights, and I'll also show you 2 massive mistakes everyone makes that destroys their focus and how to avoid them. So let's start with cheat code number 1. And this is how you avoid one of the biggest mistakes entrepreneurs make when it comes to doing focused work. You see, it takes anything from 15 to 25 or so minutes to get into a state of deep focus or flow, depending on both you and the task that you're doing. And so if you really want to focus and actually utilize that focus for productivity and high quality work, you need to be working for at least 60 minutes. That way you get at least 35 minutes of actual focused work done. But most people don't do that. Most people have got sucked into this trap of using the Pomodoro timer and taking a break every 25 minutes because they believe, oh, I can't focus for more than 25 minutes, when in reality they're only actually getting focused when they're taking a break. And here's the thing, that first 15 to 25 minutes of work where you're slowly getting into flow is uncomfortable. This is basically due to your brain releasing neurotransmitters needed for focus, and it's your brain warming up. And so when you stop working every 25 minutes, your relationship with work is uncomfortable because you only ever work in that state of discomfort. But if you just pushed through it, you would realize flow and deep focus is actually incredibly enjoyable, and in turn you would change your relationship with work because you'd enjoy it. Your work quality will improve, your effectiveness will skyrocket, and your productivity will go through the damn roof. So cheat code number 1 is don't use the Pomodoro timer and instead work in a way that actually improves your focus and productivity, and that's to work in 60 to 120 minute blocks. Cheat code number 2. So focus and flow are incredibly taxing on the mind and body. When you're in a state of deep focus, you're operating at your cognitive peak. And so it uses a ton of energy, and so if your body is trying to divert a load of energy elsewhere, it's going to limit your depth and ease of flow and focus. If you think of your computer, the more things you do on it, the slower it gets. The less things you do, the faster it is. Your brain and body operate in the same way. And so if you want to maximize your flow and focus, you want as much energy to be dedicated to the task as possible, and you really don't want your energy to suddenly crash and for you to get this overwhelming sense of brain fog where you can't even think, never mind focus. And now if you think about when you eat food, what happens? Your body redirects energy to your gut to digest the food, which means you have less energy for focus. But it also means that if you eat a load of carbs, your energy is going to spike and then crash as your insulin and blood glucose levels change. And so the chances of you finding it easy to focus and also operating at a deep level of focus are way lower than if you don't eat before your focused work. So this second cheat code is to intermittent fast. In the most basic way, this is essentially where you don't eat breakfast and stop eating at say 8 PM at night. This way you can wake up, enter flow, smash out a ton of work at a really high quality and in a super productive way without having your energy influenced by food, and come 12 PM, you'll have a ton of work done, and then you can eat and not worry too much about your energy influencing your focus. Cheat code number 3. So remember how flow and focus use a ton of energy? Well, if you want to maximize them, you obviously need to be a high energy person, and one of the best ways to do that is to optimize your sleep, but not in the way you think. You see, everyone talks about getting enough duration of sleep, but they end up forgetting about one of the biggest factors that determines the quality of that duration. And look, there's no point in you getting 8 hours of sleep if that 8 hours is the quality of 4 hours. It's basically pointless. Now, how sleep works is essentially a number of chemicals and hormones like adenosine and melatonin build up and are released at a certain time during the day, or really the evening, to get you to go to sleep. Now, when this happens is largely governed by your circadian rhythm, which is essentially a 24-hour cycle that your body goes through. And here's the thing, everything I'm telling you in this video is based entirely off studies I've read, experiments I've ran on myself, and the performance data we collect of my clients. And it turns out most people actually get enough sleep, okay? Most people actually get around 8 hours of sleep. But the problem is their circadian rhythm isn't in rhythm, and so their sleep cycles are all messed up. And so they get low quality sleep, and in turn they're low energy. And one of the major reasons for that is because Monday to Thursday they go to sleep at say 10 PM and wake up at 6 AM, But then Friday, Saturday and Sunday they go to sleep at 12 a.m, 1 a.m or 11 p.m and wake up at 8 a.m, 9 a.m or 10 a.m. And look, this seems innocent, right? But by doing this, you mess up your circadian rhythm, meaning you'll struggle to get to sleep, you'll get lower quality sleep, and when you wake up, you'll feel tired and low energy, ruining your potential for focus that day. So cheat code number 3 is to have a consistent sleep schedule. Go to sleep at the same time every night and wake up at the same time every morning at least 90% of the time. So once every 10 days or so you can mess about with this. And by doing this, you'll feel so much more energized and find focus so much easier. Cheat code number 4. So if you think about what focus is, it's essentially putting your entire cognitive attention on something. In the case of work, it's putting your cognitive attention on the task. Of course, this then means that the last thing you want is something to take your attention and in turn your focus off the task. And everyone knows this, but yet nobody does anything about it. They sit there with their phones beside them in a room full of people and 100 tabs open on their computer. When you do this, you're quite literally inviting something to steal your focus. You're asking for it, because guess what? Doing the work and staying focused is hard, okay? We know this. It requires effort. And when you have things that are easy or easier and full of instant gratification, cheap pleasure and unnatural dopamine spikes beside you, then you're setting yourself up for failure, okay? Simple. And look, most people try to manage distractions. They try to use willpower and discipline to not go on their phone, get distracted. And look, that can work a lot of the time for some people, but it will never work all the time. And eventually you will get distracted, okay? So cheat code number 4 is to stop trying to manage distractions and instead remove them. So install app and website blockers on your phone and computer. I personally use Opal, and then before every work block, take 5 minutes to make sure they're turned on and to remove any other potential distractions. Cheat code number 5. The best part about the human brain is how plastic it is. It's incredibly malleable in terms of how it can adapt to not only survive, but to thrive in situations and operate optimally in them. But in its plasticity, it likes to do things optimally and find the fastest, quickest, most efficient ways to do things. Now, this can be good and bad, because what it means is that the brain loves to form habits and routines. It's why you brush your teeth the exact same way every day. It's why you put on your shoes in a certain order. It's why at least 40%, and honestly I actually think it's more, of your actions are habits. And with habits, what you're essentially doing is just conditioning your brain to do this certain thing at this certain time. But with this, it means you can train your mind to focus both deeper and easier. And the way you do this is by creating replicability every day in when you focus, and in turn condition your brain. So cheat code number 5 is to have a consistent focus times. Focus every single day at the same times and you'll quite literally train your brain to be like, okay, it's time to focus and do the work. And in turn, you'll find it both easier to focus and you'll find your quality of focus to be much higher thanks to this conditioning. Cheat code number 6. One of the major blocks people have to entering a state of deep focus is an inconsistency. And I don't mean an inconsistency in how often you do focused work, but an inconsistency in how you do focused work. Remember, your brain thrives under replicability. When something is replicable, your mind can create neural pathways that make that thing stronger, faster, and more efficient. And the best way to build replicability when it comes to focus is this cheat code, which is to build a focus system. Now, what I mean is you quite literally create a super simple series of steps, or SOP, that you can follow when it's time to focus. Maybe it involves you getting a cup of coffee, turning on app blockers, getting your task ready, sitting down at a certain desk and working. It doesn't have to be complicated, and in fact, simple is better. All we're doing here is giving you clarity on what you should do when you want to focus, so that how you focus is consistent, and in turn your brain becomes better at doing it. Cheat code number 7. Look, you know by now that flow and focus are incredibly demanding. You're operating at peak cognitive function, synapses are firing and you're locked in. But this can only happen under one condition that this cheat code creates. Look, think of your brain as a complex, high-speed data center, because really that's actually sort of what it is, right? With countless cables connecting various systems, transferring information back and forth, constantly non-stop. Now, without this cheat code, the data center starts to overheat. And when it overheats, connections slow down, data transfer becomes glitchy, and eventually errors start to pop up. But when it's properly cooled, the data flows quickly, smoothly, and the brain is able to operate with sharpness and speed, maintaining peak performance and focus. Well, those cables that transfer the data from one part of the brain to another are your neurons. and the connection points between them are your synapses. And if you're not well hydrated, guess what? The speed of transfer between neurons across the synapse slows down. It lags, you struggle to focus, you feel tired, and you have brain fog because quite literally, your neurons are unable to pass information as rapidly as possible. So cheat code number 7 is to stay hydrated. And yes, look, everyone knows this, but most people don't drink enough water, okay? Quite simply, okay? Ideally, you drink at least 50 milliliters per kg of body weight. So for example, I'm 82 kilos, so I drink 82 times 50, which is 4,200 milliliters or 4.2 liters of water a day. Now, if you live somewhere super hot where you're sweating all day, you will obviously need to up this number. And that amount of water is just in your daily life. If you exercise, you drink even more and don't count the water you drink during exercise and how much water you drink each day. Cheat code number 8. Now, admittedly, this one isn't for everyone, but it is for most people. It's just most people don't do it correctly. You see, there's a certain chemical that everyone consumes that has the potential to boost your focus massively if you use it in the correct way. It's like putting a NOS system or a nitrous system in your car and doubling your top speed, okay? So cheat code number 8 is to use caffeine. But here's the thing, if you want to use it correctly as a tool and not as a crutch, there's a few rules you need to follow. 1. Don't drink any caffeine after 12 PM so that it doesn't affect your sleep. 2. Take up to 3 milligrams per kg of body weight in a single dose, but ideally to protect your sleep you wouldn't take more than 4 milligrams per kg of body weight in an entire day. 3. If you're sensitive to caffeine, either don't take it or start at a low dose of say 1 milligrams per kg of body weight. 4. If you get anxious or jittery with caffeine, couple it with roughly 200 milligrams of L-theanine. If you do those 4 things, caffeine will boost your focus and you can use it as a tool, not a crutch. Cheat code number 9. This is how you're going to protect your focus during the day so that small tasks, emails and ad hoc work don't distract you from the work that matters for growing your business. And to explain it, I want you to imagine this. You're working on an important task. You're focused, but then you realize, fuck, I need to check my emails or do some small task or whatever it is, and all of a sudden your focus has been dragged away from the important task. And now you're refreshing your emails looking for a particular email, then you find it, then you spend 5 minutes replying to it, and then you go back to your important work and you struggle to get back into the swing of things. I can guarantee this happens to you way more than you realize, and it happens so regularly you probably don't even realize that it's happening, whether it's with emails or some small task that needs done. And it's primarily because you have in the back of your mind, even when you're doing your important work, that you need to do these smaller things at some point in the day. And really the solution is pretty simple. Use a daily wrap. So instead of running around thinking, I need to do these tasks at some point, you set aside the last hour of your workday to deal with any small tasks and emails, etc. that build up throughout the day. This way you close that loop in the back of your mind and you don't have to carry the weight through the day of, oh, I need to do this, because you have a set time to do it in, and it frees up your mental bandwidth to fully focus on the task in front of you, the task that matters, not the small tasks. Cheat code number 10. Your body operates in rhythms, okay? The most well known is your circadian rhythm, which governs your sleep. But there's another rhythm that most people don't know about, and that is your ultradian rhythm. This is essentially where your body goes from low to high to low energy, focus and productivity every 90 or so minutes. Then after, once you reach a low, there's about a 20-minute recovery period of low energy before you start to peak again. Now, here's the thing. You can work within this cycle to truly make flow and focus easy and skyrocket your productivity. So cheat code number 10 is to work within your ultradian rhythms by scheduling your work blocks to be 90 minutes, and then after every 90-minute work block you take a 20-minute break. This way you're working when your focus and energy are highest and taking a break when they're at their lowest. Cheat code number 11. Now this one might shock some people and you might not want to do it, but trust me, it's a game changer for pretty much all of my clients. You see, there is one thing that you might be doing before you start working that's causing an acute drop in energy and in turn limiting your focus for about 1 to 2 hours after you do it. And that's training in the gym. You see, so many people hit the gym first thing in the morning, and don't get me wrong, I love training early, but the issue is if you train properly, i.e. you train hard to failure or close to failure, you'll notice your energy actually drops for about 1 to 2 hours after a session, especially on a leg day. And so any work you do in that 1 to 2 hour period after training is either useless because you don't do it, or you just struggle to focus and so it's at a lower quality and efficiency. But luckily, the solution is incredibly simple. Cheat code number 11 is to train after your focus work. Now, you can either do 3 to 4 hours of your most important tasks early in the day and then train around 10 AM when it's still in the morning, or you can do a whole day's work and train later in the afternoon around 3 or 4 p.m. The main thing is that we don't want our focus and energy to be negatively impacted by anything, even if that thing is actually a really good thing, okay? It's simply a trade-off. You can train early in the morning if you want, but realize that if you train early, there's probably going to be a 1 or 2 hour period where your focus and energy and productivity are lower after it. Again, it's a complete trade-off and the decision is up to you. Cheat code number 11. Have you ever wondered how much time you actually spend doing focused work each day and how much time you waste? Well, here's the thing. If your goal is to do more focused work, you need to know the answer to those questions, because you cannot fix a problem if you're ignorant to it. If you want to spend more time doing focused work, you need to know how much time you actually spend focused and how much time you waste checking emails, switching tabs, scrolling X, or watching YouTube, or whatever you do. And so cheat code number 12 is to track your time. The best way to do this is to download a software called Rise.io. It is paid, but you can get a free trial for a week, and you can see in that week how much focused work you actually do, how much time you waste, what tasks take up the most of your time and what tasks you don't spend enough time on. And based on your results, you can make the necessary changes to improve your focus and productivity. Cheat code number 13. And this ties in brilliantly to that last point. So let's say you get 4 hours of focused work done each day, but you want to get 6. What's the best way to make that happen? Well, you wouldn't want to just wing your day and, guess. No, you would want to make a clear, defined plan for when you're working and what you're working on, so you can get as much work done as you want. And so this cheat code is to plan your time. Now, if you've watched any of my videos before, you'll know I'm a huge fan of planning every hour of your day if you want to truly maximize your productivity and focus. And it's simply because if you plan every hour of your day, the level of clarity and direction you have for that day is amazing, and it makes it incredibly easy to achieve a goal amount of work. So plan your time, and more specifically, plan every hour of your day. Cheat code number 14, and this might just change the game for you. So you know the way you're meant to get 8 hours of sleep? Well, what if I told you that you're not? Now, hear me out, okay? Sleep has 3 main stages that you go through. You have light, you have REM, and you have deep. Now, you go through each of these stages multiple times a night, and every time you go through them, you've went through what's called a sleep cycle. Each of these cycles lasts for roughly 90 minutes, and a good night's sleep has 5 of these cycles. So cheat code 14 is to stop sleeping 8 hours. Yes. And instead, sleep for 7.5 hours, which is how long it takes to go through 5 90-minute cycles. Because here's the thing, if you sleep for 8 hours, you might potentially be waking up in the middle of a sleep cycle. And if you wake up in the middle of a sleep cycle, you end up actually feeling more groggy and tired than you should. But if you wake up at the end of a sleep cycle, you feel amazing. You feel energized and awake. So try this out. Like I said, sleep cycles are roughly 90 minutes. For some people, they might be 80. For some people, they might be 100. But try out 7.5 hours of sleep instead of 8 and see how you feel. Maybe 8 is better for you, but try it out. Cheat code 15. And this will improve your focus by making a simple shift to something you're likely already doing. So do you ever listen to music when you're working? I know most people do. Well, what if I told you that you shouldn't? You see, as humans, we have evolved and have been quite literally biologically conditioned to pick up on language and words. And so when you listen to music, you're going to every so often, maybe not every word, but you will listen to the music and some word will take your attention and will take some of your cognitive focus away from the task. And in turn you get distracted and your focus weakens. Unfortunately, there's actually not much you can do here. If you listen to music with words, it will steal your focus from the task. But there is a solution. And so this cheat code is to listen to instrumental music. Now, if you want to go purely by the science, the best music would be 40 Hz binaural beats. There's plenty of playlists on Spotify or YouTube, or you can use something like Brain FM. Or if you use Rise.io, they have a music feature that you can use in the app. But you can just listen to any sort of instrumental music if you want. Instrumental music, especially 40 Hz binaural beats, is fantastic at shifting your brain into a state of focus, and since there's no words, there's nothing to distract you and take your focus off the work. So you have less distractions and better focus. And look, this might seem small, but all the small things add up. And for such a simple change, the impact can be huge. Cheat code 16. Look, let's be honest, doing the work, being focused and all the rest isn't easy. It's not. It's just not, even if you enjoy it, okay? Like, yeah, sure, there might be days or certain tasks that you really enjoy and you do find it easy to work on and all the rest. But every so often, if not more often, you have this overwhelming sense of resistance to the work. There's a block, there's something standing between you and you sitting down to do the work. But here's the thing, And this can be quite a deep concept, so if you want me to make an entire video on it, just let me know in the comments below. But this might just change your life. You see, resistance is not a sign of what to avoid. Resistance is a sign of what will help you become the person you need to be to achieve your goals and grow your damn business. The reason you feel resistance is because if a task will help you become the person you need to be and drives progress toward your goals, then that task must destroy your old self. It must be something your old self would not do. So it destroys your old self so that it can make room for your new self. It must be something that does not align with the old you and instead aligns with the version of you that you could be. And so your old self creates resistance in an effort to prevent change. But that change, that sacrifice of your old self, is a price that you have to pay to move towards your goals. Which means the more resistance you feel to a task, the more important it is that you do it. And the more you beat resistance, the easier it becomes to beat. But the more you let it beat you, the harder it becomes to beat. And so cheat code 16 is that when you feel resistance, lean in. Remember that it's a sign of what is important and what will create progress. Lean into it. Cheat code 17. So what is focus? Well, it's you placing your cognitive attention on a task, right? Well, now imagine this. If you have 100 tasks to do you think it'll be easier to focus than if you have 5 tasks? You see, a lot of people have this misconception, and it's not your fault, that to make more progress you have to do more. But in reality, to make more progress you have to focus more, and you can't focus more if you do more. You can only focus more if you do less. And so cheat code 17 is to do less, but do better. Instead of trying to focus on 20 tasks and half-assing them because you're trying to focus on 20 tasks and plus, 17 of them don't actually make any progress in your business, take 30 minutes to figure out what tasks actually matter and focus on them. This way you're putting quite literally all of your efforts into tasks that actually create progress and grow your business, and you're not wasting time just trying to make yourself feel busy. You'll focus better, you'll work less hours, you'll be more productive, and you'll make more progress. Cheat code 18. And this is something I guarantee you that you're doing that is ruining your focus, and the best thing is, you know it. But for it to make sense, I need to explain the relationship between dopamine and focus. So in short, dopamine is a neurotransmitter that when it's high, you feel focused, driven, and good. When it's low, you feel unfocused, unmotivated, and shit. So obviously, if you want to focus, you want your dopamine to be high. But here's the problem. Dopamine is addictive, and it's not only addictive itself, but the relationship you have to your source of dopamine is also addictive. And when your dopamine spikes, it then crashes and falls below your normal levels, which, because it's addictive, makes you want to go back to whatever gave you the spike, so your dopamine rises and you feel good again. And so what if you did something every single morning that raised your dopamine massively to say 10 units? Well, when you sit down to do the work, which gives you dopamine, but not a ridiculous unnatural amount, say it gives you 5 units, your body still wants that higher level of 10 units. And so your mind wants the thing that gave you the higher source, and you end up eventually giving in. And this happens every single morning when you start your day on your phone. Your dopamine spikes to a ridiculous level, and then for the entire rest of the day you're glued to your damn phone because it's the only thing that gives you that level of dopamine. And so when you work, first off, you can't focus because you have lower dopamine levels due to them crashing. Secondly, you're incredibly distractible because your mind wants your phone to get that higher level of dopamine. Luckily, the solution is simple. Cheat code 18 is to not go on your phone for the first 4 to 6 hours of your day and instead do your most important tasks. This way you set yourself up for the day with a naturally high and earned level of dopamine. Your focus will be higher. You'll be way less distractible, you'll get way more done, and you'll feel so much more useful, productive, and fulfilled. Of course, this is easier said than done, so I would recommend using an app like Opal, where you can set it up to completely block whatever apps you choose and you cannot unlock it. This way, it's not even your choice, okay? It's just the way it is when you block it. Cheat code 19. Look, everyone talks about micro-focus, focusing on an individual task. But focusing in the micro in the day-to-day is almost impossible if you're not focused in the macro in the long term. If you split your focus, you split your attention, and in turn you split your efforts, and therefore you dilute the progress you make and destroy your results. But this goes for tasks and goals, okay? So look, this cheat code is a macro focus makes micro focus easier. If you want to focus in the micro in the day-to-day on a task, that is downstream of your ability to focus in the macro over the long run. And so stop setting 20 different goals. Choose one, go all in on it, and you'll find focusing in the micro so much easier as well. And guess what? You'll actually achieve your goal because you're focusing on it and you're no longer diluting your focus by chasing 10 or 20 different goals. Cheat code number 20. Look, a lot of doing focused work relies on willpower to sit down and to do it, and then of course your focus to actually focus on the work. But if you make this mistake, this is actually a massive problem. You see, your focus and willpower are both limited. As you go through the day, they get used up. And so what most people do is they put off their most important, and typically that also means their hardest tasks, and they end up doing them or trying to do them when their focus and willpower are low. Which means you either procrastinate and don't do them, or you end up doing them to a shit quality. But the solution is simple. Face the dragon. Do your most important tasks first in the day when your willpower and focus are highest. Not only will you be more likely to do them because of your higher willpower, but you'll do them to a higher quality in a more efficient and productive way, and you start your day on a bloody win and have momentum. Everything else will feel easy and you'll finish your day with a sense of fucking fulfillment. Cheat code 21. There is something nobody talks about with focus. You see, focus is quite literally like me playing basketball. Now, stick with me, this will make sense, don't worry. But I'm from Northern Ireland, okay? I've maybe played 5 games of basketball in PE at high school. I've essentially never played it. And so, of course, if I went to play it right now, I would be terrible. I'd be terrible at it, right? But if I practiced it daily, I would improve and get good. Now, I might never be as good as Michael Jordan, but I would get better. Focus is no different, okay? Focus is a skill, and if you want to get good at it, you need to practice it daily, like you would any other skill. Cheat code number 22. This is something that basically every entrepreneur struggles with, and it ends up destroying your ability to not only focus, but think clearly and be productive. Look, most entrepreneurs think they need to work and work and work and work and work and work some more. And there is a merit to that. A lot of people do not work hard enough or enough to match the level of their ambition and the size of their goals. But there comes a point where working more is counterproductive because it eats into the likes of your sleep, time with your partner, or to time to decompress, etc, etc. And if you work right up until, say 9 p.m, then you're like, okay, time to go to bed. You're essentially trying to go from a really high brain activity to when you're working to a really low brain activity when you're sleeping really fast, and it doesn't work. You'll end up lying in bed for an hour, tossing and turning, unable to fall asleep, and then when you wake up you will feel tired. You can't focus and you're full of brain fog, and your wife's annoyed because you basically ignored her all night to work. Luckily, there is a simple solution as always, and that is to utilize a hard stop time. Essentially what you want to do here is choose a time where you'll stop working. Might be 5 p.m, might be 12 p.m, might be 8 p.m, whatever it is for you, just choose it. I would recommend it that it's at least 2 hours before you go to sleep. So if you want to go to sleep at 9 p.m, your hard stop time is at least 7 p.m, and preferably it's earlier. This isn't me saying not to work hard, okay? You need to work your damn ass off, but when you work hard, you tax your brain, okay? A hard stop time is essential to allow your brain to recover so that you can attack tomorrow as well. This is always a big challenge for my clients, as driven entrepreneurs, they always want to just work more, and mainly because they enjoy it, but they also see the rewards from working more. But whenever they implement these hard stop times, their focus and productivity skyrocket. Their relationships improve, their stress vanishes, and they make more progress. The way I always explain it is, if you want to grow your chest in the gym, right, you want bigger pecs, you train chest hard, but you don't train chest every single hour of every single day, because then it doesn't get the chance to recover and grow. Cheat code 23. And if you want to make focus second nature, make it easy and almost effortless, this is essential. You see, a lot of people have a limiting belief that they can't focus. They say things like, oh, I can't focus. Focusing is impossible. I can't do it. It's just not me. And look, again, this can get quite deep, so I will keep it short, but you cannot act outside of what you believe to be true. If you don't believe you can focus, how on earth do you expect yourself to be able to focus? Your actions are determined by your beliefs. They're restricted by your beliefs, both conscious and subconscious. And so cheat code number 23 is to re-engineer your identity to remove limiting beliefs and to allow you to become someone who can focus and who can work hard and who can make progress. Cheat code 24. Humans are massively visual creatures. That's our main sense. It's sight, what we can see. And so your cognitive focus is largely determined by your visual focus. You will focus on whatever you look at. If you see a pretty girl walking down the street and you look at her, you're focusing on her. If you look at your phone, you'll focus on it. If you look at the work, you'll focus on it. But the cheat code isn't to just keep looking at your work. although that is good advice. If you do feel like you're getting distracted, just keep your eyes on the work, okay? But the cheat code is to warm up your mental focus by warming up your visual focus. And the way you do this is by finding a small spot or item or something on the other side of the room, and you focus on it, looking at it for 1 to 2 minutes before you start working. Of course, you can blink, but just keep your attention on it, and it serves as like a warm-up set in the gym before your working set. Cheat code 25, and this might be the most important one. It's easy to think focus is about what you do. And that's right, it is about what you do. But it's also about what you don't do. It's about what you say no to even more than what you say yes to. And so one of the best ways to improve your focus is to say no more. You should be incredibly strict with what you spend your time and energy doing, okay? If something does not serve you or your goals, if it does not add to your life in some positive, beneficial way, you should say no to it. You should protect your damn focus, because focus isn't just about saying yes, it's about saying no. Now, if you want to check out my focus system to put all of these together, check out this video right here. I promise you, it might change your life.